my number 8 is Castles of Burgundy. The Castles of Burgundy. The only game I have ever applied an emery board to.
What's an emery board?
You know what you do your nails with? You know, ladies sit there and they do the...
A nail file?
No, not a nail. You buy boards. They're like sandpaper on a stick.
That's a nail file, but the fancy word for it is an emery board.
Okay, so I used the fancy word, and I
That's
emery
fine.
boarded down the hexes in the
Right,
game.
so
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, because they had all the little bits that you get on card. Anyway, so I've played Castles of Burgundy 18 times, and it's my 8th game. Another classical looking game. One of the reasons that this slightly pips El Grande for me is that it's really, really good 2-player.
Yes.
As well as being good 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Again, just like with El Grande, it has really interesting decisions because you roll those dice. But like El Grande, where I said the initiative, but which cards can I play? Oh, the action, but which of the actions is left? There's only 5. Oh, where do I put my caballeros? It can only be next to the king. In this, what do I do? But I'm constrained by the dice I've rolled. Mm-hmm. So you've got interesting decisions to make within a finite context, which is fun without being brain burning. You know, something like, for instance, Caverna, there is too much to choose at times.
Yeah.
Genuinely, I find that rather overwhelming. And you can do it, and raising it again to Caverna, there'll be different strategies based on the board you're playing on, based on what's come out on the market that turn. So you can't start the game and say, I'm going to just play boats, or whatever, which would be stupid anyway, but I'm going to just play boats. Maybe the game won't let you do that. And there's a lot of people who don't like that, because that's strategy, isn't it? You know, coming into the game with an idea. I love games that force tactical decision making. Every turn, look at the situation. What is my optimal move? What is my optimal move based on blocking my opponent? What is my optimal move based on blocking my opponent and rewarding myself?
Yeah. No, and whilst El Grande does have variants in it, this feels like it has more variants.
Despite the fact it's just one game.
Well, yeah, but
and no, I mean, there is a couple of expansion, promotional tiles. And stuff. But this, just like El Grande, it's such a beautifully classical looking game. Even though the component, it's really cheap by board game standards, and the components are garbage compared to something like Blood Rage that you've mentioned earlier. It's got a really, really good length. You can play multiple paths to victory. I'm going to focus on doing really early game rush and doing as many little areas as I can to get as many points. I'm going to focus on goods. I'm going to focus on farm animals. I'm going to completely neglect mines. I'm just going to save up all my silverlings and not spend them. It's got so many different aspects. And it's in the same way that sometimes when you go to the cinema with a certain person on a certain day, when you've eaten a certain meal at a certain time, and all the stars align, and you just you are in the peak emotional state to enjoy that film. This game had a similar moment for me when I was staying in Glasgow for an extended period with Nick. I bought this and we played this game more times than the number of days I was there. And any time that Nick's interested in board games, that's a massive thing for me. That's really enjoyable.
The thing that for me that makes this game quite interesting to play, and when I do play, I wouldn't choose to play it, but when I do play it, I find myself enjoying it. Is that it does that thing for me where I build a little world of my own.
Exactly. Yeah.
What you're doing does affect me, and there are tactical decisions in there and choose of what you pick to,
why did you take my cows?
In terms of the market.
Yeah.
But regardless from that, the dice you've rolled will always allow you to do something.
Yes. There is always something.
You very rarely have nothing to do.
Yeah. And the way you described it as, you rarely pick it to play, but when you do play it, you always enjoy it. That's probably pretty much how I feel about it. I always enjoy playing it, and whenever I play it, I'm like, I'm surprised I don't play this more.
Yeah. If this was when this is on the when this is on the shelf, if this was on the shelf with all the other Euro games, I'd much probably pick
something else. Puerto
Rico. I'd probably pick Puerto Rico. But if someone said we're playing Castles of Burgundy today, even though it's not
Yeah.
my favourite game,
Yeah.
I'd sit down and quite happily enjoy
Yeah,
playing.
See, for me, the big
Yeah.
difference between this and Puerto Rico is that Puerto Rico is very punishing. Like, for instance, I could get upset with somebody playing Puerto Rico.
The timing aspect of things when you do stuff, you mean, and things like that.
Well, almost,
Yeah.
yes. I could get upset with somebody who makes a move that rewards somebody else
Yeah.
blindly and, if I were being unkindly, I'll use a less unkind word, ignorantly. Right? In Castles of Burgundy, the closest thing to that is them not buying a tile to block someone. And that's very different
There's a thin line though when it comes to decisions like that, where it's a decision made because you believe it's best for your game, and it shouldn't matter that the other player.
And I agree, and in Castles of Burgundy, that's fine, because that person can go, oh, I really need those cows. No, but look, don't let them take that knowledge tile. That's really powerful for them. That's different to in Puerto Rico. Oh, well, I could use some goods, so I'll produce. And then the next person goes, Captain. Like, that within the game, the game of Puerto Rico is designed with you understanding that you don't do that. Like, the game doesn't have a rule to stop that from happening because it relies on the meta of the group. And playing Castles of Burgundy against somebody who's good at Castles of Burgundy, they will beat you, but you will play your game and you'll get your points. And if the three of us play with someone who's never played before, they're not going to A, feel like they're ruining it, or B, actually ruin it for anyone. They probably won't just do very well. Whereas in Puerto Rico, if 3 people who've played Puerto Rico 10 or more times play with someone who hasn't played, their understanding of the meta is cripplingly behind. And that, for me, is a negative to Puerto Rico. Now, playing Puerto Rico with people who know how to play it, brilliant. I mean, I feel like I'm just copying Tom Vassell, but he makes a good point.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel Castles of Burgundy as well is exactly the sort of more complex Euro that I would introduce somebody in. Like when Claire started playing board games, I would have introduced her to Castles of Burgundy. I would teach Castles of Burgundy to Lewis or Claire as well. Like, it's not too complicated. And I think the dice add in, just like I said about decision making, they confine you just enough. They also add in just the right amount of luck spice. Because playing chess, is horrible, because when I lost, it's because I'm stupider than you. Whereas in this, that tile came out the bag, at the right time for you. You rolled that right number at the right time.
Yeah.
I rolled exactly what I needed that turn to do exactly what I wanted.
While you can pick this game up quite, as you said, quite cheap,
20 quid.
I think the game would benefit from a newer version, as in newer.
We're going to get a real theme of you being like, you're like the nuts and the zoo guy of board games.
No.
Need him to be good looking. Who cares what's going on?
The game doesn't look great.
No, I agree. It's dated. It's dated. I would say
it's
classical.
It's a classical game, and the fact that it's such a cheap price point because the components are
At least it's reflected.
is reflected.
Yes. Yeah.
But I genuinely think the game would benefit from having an upgrade where you get better dice, better little tiles, and things like that.
It's a dice. That's a weird thing to criticise.
No, but the dice are quite, sort of. They don't fit the theme, if you know. Like, but if they were like dice that felt like they, were like that period, not as brightly coloured.
Sometimes I forget that you're a miniature gamer, and then I'm reminded of moments like these.
The
game needs better dice.
Now, you did have to buy dice for this game, didn't you?
Ah, yes. Massive personal criticism. No yellow player.
Yeah.
Massive problem.
Yeah. No, it is a very good Euro game, and every time I play it, I'm like, yeah.
I immediately want to play this game talking about it.
But I've thoroughly enjoyed this game,
Yeah.
but as Ben has said, it's not one that I will.
It doesn't leap out at me.
I would immediately
as a
play.
game that I want to
For
play.
me,
Yeah.
even though the lengths aren't comparable, if you're going to talk, like, I don't know why, for some reason, I'm seeing this as a spiritual successor, but it's coming to my mind. Even though it's way lighter, Splendor, for some reason, and this, like, remind me of each other. And for me, Splendor is just such a flat, boring game compared to Burgundy. Like, Burgundy, like, Splendor is like the kid who thinks that his Nike Air trainers are a new invention. And it's like, no, we had those. Well, I didn't, but they existed. You're not cool.
Yeah.
Go and sit down. Camelot deserved to win, and Castles of Burgundy is better.
It's called Camel Cup, by the way.
It's called the Castles of Burgundy. No, I mean, so you guys would play this, but only when asked.
I would never choose to play it from a
Yeah.
list from a bunch of Euro games, but if someone said, "Hey, me and another person are playing Castles of Burgundy," I don't want to play it 2-player either. I don't want to play it 2-player.
Interesting.
I would much prefer to play it with the
See,
3.
the clock
really,
that this
but
goes back with the 2 players. I mean, the time on the box says like 30 to 90 minutes. That's apt, man.
yeah.
You can play a 2-player game in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But
This is exactly the sort of game that on game night I'm picking
Yeah.
because it is exactly the kind of
Yeah.
weight
No,
that I like.
I always enjoy playing it. If I see it on the shelf, it will always be in consideration. But Bridesmaid, not
See,
Bride.
it reminds me with you two of like a film that if you went around someone's house and you were looking over their DVD collection, that DVDs are digital discs that people used to buy.
Don't take the video.
When you used to, you would look over and you go, "Oh, that's a good film,"
Yeah.
right? And then someone would say, "Oh, do you want to watch it?" And you'd be like, "No, I'm alright.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I've just seen it." And when did you see it? I don't know, like 2005, or something like that.
It's the
you
DVD
feel-
you own in your
Yeah.
collection,
But
you'd
if
watch
you
it on
came
Netflix.
home,
If it was
not
on telly,
drunk from the pub because you wouldn't, but you come home tired and it's on.
if it was on
If,
telly,
if you flick it, if your housemate is
Yeah, you
watching
watch
it,
it.
you stay in the room.
TV is a thing that people owned before computers. Just so you know. So.
Cool.
The two